Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Christopher Mellon and Lue Elizondo have clapped back at Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, for some of his comments recently with regard to UFO disclosure advocates. Of course, Christopher Mellon, he's the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. He posted on Twitter that he says, "I was astonished by one of the central claims made by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick in his recent article in Scientific American, blasting UAP conspiracists, specifically his claim that, as of the time of my departure, none of the conspiracy-minded, quote, whistleblowers, end quote, in the public eye had elected to come to AARO to provide their evidence and statement for the record despite numerous invitations." Now, Melan here says that, "I'm baffled because in an effort to assist his investigation, I introduced Dr. Kirkpatrick to the former director of the AATIP program, Lue Elizondo, as well as Dr. Eric Davis and Dr. Hal Puthoff. Each of these prominent voices associated with the AATIP program spent hours briefing Dr. Kirkpatrick in a classified setting. None have received any feedback. Hopefully, the pending report to Congress on the alleged UAP recovery program will describe the specific claims made by these and dozens of other witnesses and what AARO did to evaluate them." Yeah, basically, as we all have heard, have we been learning from Kirkpatrick, he's been making claims that none of these whistleblowers talked to him, and here we have other people saying no, they've been talking to him in classified settings, and some big names and also other names that's not mentioned here in Mellon's post. And Lue Elizondo also made a statement on Twitter today saying, "Many, let me repeat, many people who I know personally have spoken to AARO and provided detailed information to Kirkpatrick and his office for the record. If AARO isn't willing to tell the truth to Congress, we are." Well, I think that's what we're going to have to do there, Lou, because obviously there's a group of people, and Kirkpatrick is part of that group of people within government who do not want the truth about the extraterrestrial / non-human intelligence presence known to the world. They want to keep that secret for whatever reason, and that's what we're getting. And of course, Kirkpatrick, some of the things I didn't even mention yesterday, some of the other things that he said recently, he's basically said that people who think this, believe in this conspiracy and believe in the extraterrestrials, basically it's like a religion, according to him. It's like we're practicing some kind of a religion. That's not true. That's not the case. There's no altar. There's no. I'm not praying. I don't know. I'm someone who's interested in this and believes in the conspiracy for sure. That's not being treated like a religion. Actually, the people who are treating this like a religion are the debunkers. They want to keep the status quo. They don't believe in anything, and they want to keep it that way. Anyway, I'm going to talk about a lot of different things today. I actually received an email this evening from of somebody I've talked about before on here. Somebody who wants to remain anonymous. It's a retired electronics engineer who did a lot of work for different government agencies and different government contractors. And this is with regard to the Wikipedia nonsense that's we've been learning about, and how certain Wikipedia pages related to UFOs and people who have been abducted and whatever, anything that's UFO / extraterrestrial related on Wikipedia, those pages, a lot of them, it seems, are being controlled by a group. Apparently, most of them are coming from some organization called Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, and we've learned more today. There was another podcast that was put out today by the Good Trouble show with Matt Ford. Rob Heatherly, he was on again talking about some of the things he's uncovered with this cabal, this secret cabal of debunkers who are controlling the UFO narrative on Wikipedia. Well, I received a comment from this electronics engineer, and he pointed something out to me. He says, a few weeks ago, the subject of Travis Walton came up in casual conversation, and this guy says to me, "Oh, that was just a hoax. They proved that." And I said, "Where did you hear that?" And he said, "It's right on Wikipedia." My contact went on to say, as if that makes it true. Jim, actually, my contact that doesn't believe this source doesn't believe that it's the cover up is because of the reverse engineering aspects or that it would cause a panic. This is what he says. He says, Jim, a cover up of this magnitude can't be justified with the old reverse engineering story. I believe that's CIA rubbish, or by the idea that the mere appearance of aliens would cause a panic. That's not believable either. It has to be something much darker and more disturbing. And notice how the cattle mutilations and abductions seem to be the most heavily suppressed topics of all. That says something to me, brother. He might be right about that. I think it does have something to do with the reverse engineering aspects of this. I think that that's my belief. Doesn't make me right. Some people believe that, like my source here believes otherwise. I used to think that way. I do not anymore. I do think that it's this cover up is because of the reverse engineering aspects of it. It's basically a secret Cold War, just like David Grush has talked about, going on for decades now. That there are different countries that are working behind the scenes trying to reverse engineer these things and trying to accomplish that before somebody else, before any of the other their enemies do. I think that's what's going on. I think that's the main reason for the secrecy. But regarding the Travis Walton stuff, so I went to the Wikipedia page to check this out, and it's a travesty. Of course, some of these names, these phony names associated with that you'll find if you look at the history of the edits that are on these pages. The Travis Walton incident page is no different. The opening, the article opens up and then before it gets into the meat of everything, this is the paragraph that it ends with this paragraph. It says the Walton incident is widely regarded as a hoax, even by believers of UFOs and alien abductions. And then it's you getting that information from a book written by the late Philip Klass, who's been dead like 20 years now. A book that he wrote in 1983. It's saying here the Walton incident is widely regarded as a hoax, even by believers of UFOs and alien abductions. And that's what it says there. It just makes that blanket statement, like everyone out there thinks that Travis Walton is a liar, and all these people that were these other loggers that were with him back in that day in 1975 when he was abducted by aliens, that they're all liars and all making it up, and everyone in the world thinks this for the most part. It's widely regarded as a hoax according to Wikipedia, because the people who are controlling this page about the Travis Walton incident, it's people who are from this debunking cult. Anyway, it goes on to say, it says, they note that the Waltons were longtime UFO buffs and pranksters who had recently watched a TV movie about a supposed alien abduction. They're talking about this movie that came out on TV in 1975 called the UFO Incident, which was about the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, and that's what they're saying, even though Travis has said that that's not the case. But they're saying it here because of people like who debunkers like the late Philip Klass, because of statements made by people like that, among others. It goes on to say, it says, they suggest one motive for the hoax was to provide an act of God that would allow the logging crew to avoid a steep financial penalty from the Forestry Service for failing to complete their contract by the deadline. Now, that's all nonsense. That's all made up. That was all stuff that Philip Klass, this debunker, made up. He just made these assertions up, but it's reported here in Wikipedia as if it's fact, and that's the way it is, and that's all there is to say about it. And don't even bother looking into this story because it's all phony according to this Wikipedia page. But anyway, of course, as we all know, it was on November 5th, 1975, when Travis Walton, along with his boss Mike Rogers and 5 other guys, were logging in an area in Arizona, and all day long. And then they were driving home in the evening, and they saw this flying saucer hovering by the side of the road in a clearing. Travis got out to check it out, and he got blasted by some sort of a beam that came from the saucer. All the guys in the truck, they took off because they were scared. And then when they went back to look for Travis, he wasn't there, and he was missing for like 5 days, and then he showed up. He was dropped off mysteriously. He thought he was only gone for a few hours, and he was shocked to learn that he was gone for 5 days. And then he, under hypnosis, he remembered seeing alien beings inside of a craft, among other things. But there were people like the late Philip Klass, who would bent himself into pretzels trying to debunk this, and he really wasn't able to do it. He just would make up lies and scenarios and speculations that this was all some sort of a way, an act of God. The only reason that he did this was because Mike Rogers, they're going to be late finishing this job, so they figured they'll just come up with this scheme to pretend that Travis got abducted by aliens, and this way that would serve as an act of God to give them more time to finish this logging job that they were behind on. That was all made up. In fact, none of this stuff, all the people that are quoted in here, for the most part, all the quote experts end quote, are debunkers. You'll see names like Michael Shermer, of course. I mean, that guy, that grinning goofball who's for decades now pretending that there's nothing to this extraterrestrial reality. People like that. People like Robert Schaefer. The same old names that we've heard for decades. But we don't hear anything in there about from the other side. There's only a one-sided story on Wikipedia about Travis Walton. So I actually dug out my book here, Fact, Fiction, and Flying Saucers by Stanton Friedman and Kathleen Martin, where it actually talked about this, about how Philip Klass was operating at the time with this, and how he was making things up, and he was a nasty person to deal with. But anyway, it says here, Klass interviewed the forester in charge of the timber stand improvement office, who informed him that Rogers had done nothing wrong. He did not have to pay a penalty and was paid for most of his work. However, his last inspection had failed, resulting in non-payment for 3 weeks of work. The reason it failed is because Walton's brother had torn all of the slash piles apart searching for his brother's body. Klass coveted this information and twisted the facts to make it appear that Rogers was guilty of wrongdoing when clearly he was not. With the fervency of a fanatic, Klass doggedly pursued Rogers, claiming that he was part and parcel to a hoax, not only with regard to the Walton abduction, but also for setting up a situation that would relieve him of his Forest Service contract. Rogers was then audited by the IRS, which is not surprising considering Klass's habit of reporting suspected wrongdoing to government agencies. Klass's book, UFO Abductions, A Dangerous Game, was aptly titled. As long as Klass was alive, it was dangerous to have endured an alien abduction. Not only would you suffer the trauma related to the experience, you would be traumatized by Philip Klass's relentless attacks. But see, there's nothing in there about the other side of the coin here, like this. This stuff's not in this article whatsoever. In fact, all we get is what debunkers say. If you go through this article, you'll see different subheadlines. It says here, modern views. Waltons as UFO buffs and pranksters. There's a section on that where they're just basically saying that these people were before this incident happened, that Travis Walton and his family were basically known for their interest in UFOs. Again, this is all stuff coming from debunkers. Another section here, National Enquirer misrepresented polygraph results. It says here, authors, including Michael Shermer and Phil Klass, noted that while the National Enquirer tabloid publicized the opinion of a private polygraph examiner who reported the witnesses as being truthful, it omitted all mention of Walton's prior polygraph examiner, who concluded Walton was being grossly deceptive. Now, again, this was a lot of this stuff was taken out of context, but all you're getting is one side of the story, what the debunkers believe. That's all you're getting in this article on Wikipedia about the Travis Walton case. It goes on later on. It says here, science writer and skeptic Michael Shermer opined, I think the polygraph is not a reliable determiner of truth. I think Travis Walton was not abducted by aliens. In both cases, the power of deception and self-deception is all we need to understand what really happened in 1975 and after. Again, it's a one-sided affair, and you can see now why, if somebody wants to look in, most people in this world, if they're going to read about Travis Walton, the first place they're going to go to is Wikipedia, and it's going to be a one-sided affair, because right now these pages are being controlled by this secret cabal, as they call themselves, and it's really a shame. And again, like I said yesterday, I think that we in the UFO community, we need to figure out something to combat this. And I think what we're going to have to do is create our own cabal and to make changes. We need to have both sides of the story being told when it comes to these things. I don't care. I don't mind. You want to have all the debunker statements in these stories as you want. That's fine with me. But you got to have the other side of the story, and then you let people make up their own minds. See, this way, but they're doing it this way because they want people to make up their minds completely from their biased viewpoint. That they don't want any other information. They don't want quotes from Stanton Friedman in there on this. They don't want that. And if they do put any kind of quotes from someone like the late Stanton Friedman in there, they're going to use it against them in some way. Or that's just how they're operating. It's a really sad state of affairs. Anyway, I want to talk about a case involving men in black. And I did talk about this before in a previous podcast, but I want to talk about it a little bit more in depth today. And it was the case where, there was this famous video where you saw these two men classically dressed like what we've always heard of what men in black dress like, walking into this hotel back in 2009 in Canada. And at Niagara Falls. At that time it was a Sheraton Hotel. Now it's since become a Marriott. It was changed to a Marriott a few years later. But it all started actually in 2008 when a manager at this hotel, I'm not going to use his name here because apparently this guy doesn't like his name being put out there with regard to this story. But it all started in October of 2008 at Niagara Falls in Ontario on the the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. And there was a report done by an organization called Aerial Phenomena Investigations. They had looked into this at the time. Actually not until 2012 when it was actually investigated. And there was a report put together, and I'll include this report in the description so you can check it all out for yourself. But anyway, it says here in this report, it says a black triangle was spotted by witness number one on two. This was the manager, witness number one, on two separate occasions. It is unknown if both triangles are the same. UFO witness number one observed. This report, therefore, covers the first sighting as it was the closest. The second sighting was approximately 2 weeks later from the same location. However, the second UFO's altitude was higher and it traveled faster. And it says here regarding sighting one on October 14th, 2008 at approximately 22:30 hours, witness number one and witness number two were standing outside in front of their hotel looking out over the falls and the Niagara River. Witness one and witness two saw a large, slow-moving triangular craft with three white lights on all three sides and a pulsing red light in the middle of the craft moving east to west. Witness number one also saw a very bright white light shining down on the water, which was moving toward them. As the UFO moved closer to them, the direction of the light moved from pointing down towards them. According to witness number one, the closer the UFO moved toward them, the higher the UFO gained altitude. Witness one said to witness two that if the object continues on the same path, it would fly just to the left side of the hotel. According to witness one, witness two was frozen, frightened, and would not follow witness one to the left side of the hotel. Witness one stood in the middle of the road and waited. Soon the UFO was over witness number one, which made no sound. Witness number one, moreover, claimed that the UFO was a very large black triangle with four lights underneath, two white lights on the back and another on the front tip. At the UFO center was a red light that pulsed very slowly. The triangular craft moved very slowly and was approximately 100 feet above the 32-story hotel. The triangular craft continued west until it was completely out of sight. The craft, by the way, was 240 feet long, according to the witness. And then in sighting two, it happened about a week later, at the end of October. Witness number one was outside in the hotel's parking lot and observed another black triangular UFO at 1 o'clock in the morning. According to witness number one, however, the UFO was higher but also traveled west to east. The object continued over the Niagara River until it was out of sight. Now, the investigation determined that the witnesses, and there was other people that were also interviewed, the witness number one was very reliable, but one of the witnesses, the second witness, did not want to participate in this investigation, so they weren't able to get anything from that person. But there were other witnesses later on. Actually, in early 2009. Actually, there was a lot of sightings in this area at the time. There was other people in 2008 that were seeing UFOs, seeing these triangular shaped UFOs over the Canadian-U.S. border near the Niagara Falls area, and this actually ended up in a newspaper, in an article at the time. And then early in 2009, this witness number one, this manager wasn't at work that day, but two guys wearing black suits, black hats, came in looking for him. And I'm sure that I'm gonna play this little snippet of this video where you could hear this witness number one talking about what happened when he did go to work the next day, what he found out, and it's very interesting.
There's a couple really strange-looking men that were here, and they kind of freaked everybody out, and they were asking questions about you. And, of course, now I'm getting a little bit nervous, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, well, he goes, I don't know how to describe them except for extremely odd-looking. They were the exact same height, they were wearing the exact same clothes, and they had the exact same faces, like they were twins. And he said they were wearing black suits, black trench coats. They were wearing like the old-fashioned Federo hats. They had extremely, extremely pale skin. And he said they came in and they asked for you. And I said, I'm sorry, he's actually not working today. And it seemed like they didn't believe me, so they started to walk around the hotel, and shortly after, they went to the tour desk. But he goes, they freaked me out, and I really wanted to tell you that there were these weird guys in here looking for you. So, of course, now I'm a little bit skeptical and I'm a little bit freaked out all at the same time. So the first thing I do is I run into my security office, and I rewound the cameras. And sure enough, here comes two gentlemen through the front door looking exactly how he described. Then the next day, I was talking with my tour desk, and one of them asked to talk to me. She came in my office, the same as my bellman, and she said, I heard that you heard that there were some men looking for you. And she said, they asked a few questions about you, and they said strange things that I didn't understand. And they were talking about governments and conspiracies, and none of it made any sense to me. But she goes, they were very, very scary. She said they had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, nothing. Their hair looked like they had a wig on, like it was attached to their hat, like it wasn't even real. And she said, and the scariest thing, their eyes were so big and so blue that they almost hypnotized me a little bit. And she goes, and you're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but I swear they knew what I was thinking. And she started to cry, and she said one more thing before she left. She said, these men, they didn't blink. Not once did I see them blink.
So there you go, and he said that. So the bellman said that these two guys came in looking for him, and they looked really strange. I mean, you hear what the description looked like, and then you had this girl who worked at the tourist desk, who was approached by these people, and she was really frightened by them. He actually later on also said that he ended up moving eventually because him and his wife he felt like he was being followed all the time. Sometimes there was poltergeist activity started happening in his house, and he ended up leaving that area because he was so scared. Now, this is something that people have been talking about. If you go to all on the internet, some people think it was a hoax, that somehow this was hoax, but to this point, no one's ever proved that this was a hoax. I mean, I think this is a real Men in Black incident. There were other craft there were other sightings at the time, and actually about a year later in 2009 in the same area, there was two different occasions. Many witnesses saw this triangular shaped craft again. Apparently, it sounds like the same. It looks like this. The description. It sounds, when you see there's a video of this. When you look at it, it looks like it meets the description of what this guy just a year before was talking about, and. I'm showing for people who aren't who are just listening to this. I'm actually showing this video right now where you could see two different events, where two different locations where people were filming this object hovering in the sky near this near the United States-Canada border a year later in 2009. So that's the object that this guy saw. But apparently, at some point early in 2009, these men in black were looking for him. So what does it all mean? So I've talked about this before. I have a theory with regard to this, like, is what happens here, is what the possibilities are with regard to these things. I think that these things were aliens. I mean, you heard the description by one of the witnesses, the girl who worked at the tourist desk. She made the statement that that they didn't have any eyebrows. They had these oversized eyes that were very piercing. They looked like they were wearing, they had these hats on, but it looked like they were wearing wigs, that the hair was actually attached to the hats. They had no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no hair whatsoever on their face at all. I think that these were extraterrestrials, and for whatever reason, they were trying to get information about what this guy saw. This guy reported. He actually he reported it. It showed up in a local news publication sometime after October, after these incidents occurred, and then in early 2009, these men in black show up looking to talk to him. And luckily for him, probably, he wasn't there that day, but he said that there were other things that happened later on that caused him to leave that area, to move away, because him and his wife felt like they were dealing, for all of a sudden, they were having poltergeist activity was going on in their house. They were hearing footsteps when there was nobody there. It was all kinds of weird things were going on, and they decided to leave. But this is just one of many Men in Black cases. I've talked about this before many times on different podcasts. And I guess what is it all about? Why are they doing this? Why do these guys show up after someone sees a UFO and reports on it? Why? Or in some cases they don't even report on it. And there's been a lot of Men in Black cases where a witness will say nothing to anybody, and the next thing you know, there's people knocking on their door, wearing black suits and acting very strange, telling them not to talk about what they just saw. What could be going on here is that I think there could be some sort of an alien force. I've talked about this before. I just want to bring it up again. And maybe this might explain what's going on with the government too, why they don't want to talk about this. Maybe they cannot talk about it. Maybe they're being compelled to keep quiet and not tell the truth to the public because behind the scenes, there's some sort of an alien presence that's controlling them, it's telling them that they cannot do that, that they're not permitted to do that for whatever reason. What if that is the case? What if what's happening is, say, for instance, like these crafts show up over the United States-Canada border near Niagara Falls, and all of a sudden Men in Black are interested in it. Maybe it's because they're concerned of other extraterrestrial races coming here. Maybe there's an infiltration of beings here right now that are trying to basically take over the world, and they don't want any outsiders. They don't want anybody else trying to do that or eyeing this planet. And when things happen, that's why they send out these goons to get in for more information and try to learn more about what these witnesses saw, as well as scare them into keeping quiet about what they saw. Maybe that's what it's all about. I don't know. It's just something to think about, but it's very possible. We just don't know. But I think that there could be something to this 2008-2009 case. It's a classic Men in Black story. And this one, we actually have some evidence. Now, again, there's a lot of people on the internet that think that this could be a hoax for various reasons. But I've not found anything that I've done a lot of research on this one over the years, and I've not found anything that shows that it was a hoax. I mean, for what purpose? For what reason? Why would somebody do this? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would someone go through all the trouble to go and scare this guy on a day when he wasn't at work for what? Why would somebody do that? Well, why would they waste their time dressing up two guys over 6 feet tall in these identical suits? They both look like they're twins. They look exactly alike, and then send them into some hotel looking for some guy to talk to him about what he about his UFO encounter. Why would they do that? Why would they intimidate other employees in that hotel? No one's ever stepped out and said, yeah, it was all a big joke. Ha, ha, ha. Nobody's ever claimed that they were behind this hoax, if it was a hoax. I don't think it was. I don't think this one was. It doesn't make me right, but I think there's something to this one. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who just don't want to believe in this kind of thing, who just can't believe in it for whatever reason. It doesn't jibe in their minds. It doesn't compute. And so they just immediately go to, oh, it has to be a hoax. It just has to be. Why? Why does it have to be a hoax? I mean, you saw we were showing those videos here earlier when you see what the kind of craft that the people were seeing out there, completely silent, 240 feet across. We don't have technology that could do that. And then you see the aftermath in some of these cases where these strange men in black show up and try to intimidate people into not ever talking about anything that they witnessed. It doesn't make any sense other than what I'm saying here. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, the government, I believe that there's probably many cases over the years where government agents went out to investigate certain UFOs, and maybe some people mistook them for MIB. But I think in other cases, why would the government do that? Most of the world, for the most part, I mean, the government has this locked down. They've had it locked down until recent years, right? But for the most part, it's been locked down. I mean, they say what they say. The mainstream media goes along with them, and that's just the way it is. And anybody who believes in UFOs and aliens, they're just crackpots or something. So that doesn't make sense to me why the government would send people out to tell them to shut up. It just doesn't make any sense. But it does make sense that an extraterrestrial presence that's here might be concerned if there are other extraterrestrials trying to come here and maybe claim this planet for their own. Maybe that's what this is all about, that right now there's this group of aliens that are planning or in the process of colonizing this planet, or planning to, or we're in the middle of it right now. We're not at the final phase of this takeover yet, but we're getting there. Maybe this is what this whole thing has been about, and they're going to take it over at some point and boot us off somehow. And in the meanwhile, they got to make sure that no other alien being from some other world comes here trying to stake a claim. And maybe that's what this is all about. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.